In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the radiator on your 2001 to 2007 Dodge Grand Caravan or Chrysler Town & Country. Now there's two ways that you can go about doing this. You can actually just remove some of these top parts in your fan and whatnot and remove the radiator out through the top this way. Or the other thing you can do actually is remove your front bumper cover, which gives you full access to your radiator up here from the front. Now what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to show you how to do it by taking it out through the top here, but I'm also going to be removing my front bumper cover here just so I can provide you with the details of being able to see what's all behind here, what's involved in it, what you're going to have to reach down to get to be able to do this repair and do it quickly and do it easily. Hey everyone, welcome to Javo's Garage. Here I do how-to car repair videos, I do different garage projects, I also do tool reviews on things that I use every day, but with a focus on providing you with the details that you're normally not going to find in other videos. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Let's get started on replacing the radiator on this Grand Caravan. Step one for me is always going to be to remove the negative cable from my battery. Just in case we hit something as we're doing our work down in here, we don't want to short out any of our control modules or cause a problem. This uses a 10mm socket or wrench on this nut back here, and we'll loosen it up and remove the cable. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to tuck it down in here to the side, and that way it won't pop back up and possibly touch that and cause an issue. Next thing I want to do is remove this cover here out from under the bumper cover, and it has fasteners along here. And so basically we have a 10mm bolt here and one directly located on the other side. So first thing we'll do is remove those. Next we have 5 Phillips head screws located here along the front, and we'll remove those. Now we have these little plastic fasteners here. You have one located here and one located on the other side. And what you need to do is pop this center tab up, and then you can remove the fastener. And I just have my small pry bar here. And what I'll do is just kind of start to working under there, and I'll use my fingernail to hold the wider base down. And then I'll just pry up and just pop that cap up as you're seeing, just like that. And then I'll just kind of work this down underneath the larger one and just pull it out. So this is an up close shot, so maybe you can get a better view of how this thing works. So they're just two separate pieces right there. Now we'll do that to the other side. Now that we have all of our fasteners removed, we want to remove this cover right here. And what I always do is I'll kind of pull forward on this bumper cover a bit, and then just pull this side back and start to tuck my bumper cover up underneath it, and then just work my way along here. Do the same thing over on this side. I'm just going to pull my bumper cover out a bit and then tuck this down underneath that cover. Once again, I'll work it underneath here. And once I have that done, now what you'll do is just start pulling this forward. Be careful getting it under your hood release arm here. And once you do that, you have the access to that now. Next thing I want to do is actually to remove this radiator support bracket that goes up along here. And you'll see it has 2 of these hangers that come down, and these actually hold the top of your radiator so it's in position. So before I start that, you'll notice we have our hood release cable comes up along here and it comes through here. I'm going to want to take this and set it up out of the way, and so I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 hold downs here for our cable, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen those up now so it gives me some extra room when I actually get that taken out. And once again, I'll just take my pry bar, work it down up underneath there, and those just pop right out. Once I have that done, now we need to remove the 4 bolts that secure our radiator support bracket. You have 2 bolts over here, 2 bolts over here. They're all 4 a 13mm. And there we go. Now what I'll do is you're just going to lift straight up, and I always kind of grab it by these brackets down here, but I'm going to lift it straight up and just set it back here. Now in the case of where I'm working right now, I have my wiper motor has been removed here because I had just finished doing some other work to my van. So when you do set this up there, make sure and put like a towel or something over your battery here so you don't accidentally touch those together and cause a major issue. So now that we have that all done, we're ready to start possibly working on our fan and start to remove it, because that's going to be the next easiest thing you want to get out of your way. Now at this point you may be wondering why I haven't started to drain any coolant out of my system yet, and I'll show you more as we move along. But once we get this fan out of the way, we'll have easy access to our drain that's located down here on the bottom on the left hand or driver's side. So I want to get this out of the way. It just gives me easy access to things. So the next thing I want to do is I want to disconnect my electrical. Now each one of your fans here has a wire that runs over to it in a harness. You'll see you have one here, and I'm sure you can't see it from that angle, but on this other fan you're going to have another one over here, and they're both identical. They have those little red retaining tabs that Dodge and Chrysler's so known for. You'll slide that up, press the retaining pin, and just pull it backwards and remove your wiring harness. And I'm just going to use my little pry bar, and it helps just to push that little red tab up, just like that. Now that that's up, and this one here is a bit tougher to get to and get your hand in there, and sometimes I'll use my little pry bar because it'll push on that button better than I can get my hand in there. And once it starts to go, I can just go ahead and take that off. I can get my hands in on this one. This side's much more open, and so now my wiring is off. Now that our electrical's disconnected, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unhook my overflow hose from this little clip here in the center, and then disconnect it from the radiator. Move it up here out of my way. Now the next thing you want to do is there are two 10mm bolts that are on the top of your radiator, or on top of your fan, excuse me, that hold it in position. You have one located right up over in here, and you have another one that's located right below your upper radiator hose in here that hold that fan in position. And we're now going to go ahead and remove those. And now we're ready to remove our fan. Now this part here can be a little bit tricky, but if you work with it enough, you will get it out. And what tends to happen is it kind of catches over here on this hose. And that's where it's kind of a catch-22, and that if you've gone ahead and drained out your coolant by now, you can remove that hose. I prefer to leave it in until I get this part out, because then I have easy access to all my drains. So let me show you how I do that. So I'm going to lift up on it, and they're like little U-clips that are on the side of here. There's 4 of them. There's 2 that hold these upper ones that have the bolts, and then there's 2 at the bottom that just hold some arms, if you will, that come off to the side. So I'm going to just lift up on it here in the middle, and just like that, you see it starts to come out. And then what I'll do is I'll push down on this side and start to come up on this side over in here. And then I'll just start to work it, and it will slowly get its way up and out of my way, just like this. And now our fan is out of the way. So now I'm going to try and give you a closer view of where your drain valve is on your radiator here. So bear with me as we do this. Now we're coming in. This over here is your driver's side, or left-hand side. And we're going to come in, and it's right down in here where I have my light shining, and I'm going to just move some things out of my way. Here's an up-close shot of what our valve looks like down here, and this is it right here. You'll see it's got this little wing tab on here, and some of these are round, but you'll go ahead and turn that to the left. Also, if you look down below there, it's got like that little plastic nipple that sticks off of there. And what I'll do is I'll just take a rubber hose like you see here, and what I'll do is I will put that onto there and then run that down so I can guide the coolant down into my bucket or my catch pan. Otherwise you get your coolant and it spills out all along this bottom rail, and it makes a huge mess. So grab an extra hose you have laying around the shop there, put this on there, guide it out from in there, guide it into your collection bucket, and that will save you some time. Now that you've drained your coolant out, you want to start disconnecting your hoses. Now this here is the passenger side lower part of your radiator. So this here you have your hose over here as well, and you'll just want to remove that clamp, pull it back, and remove this hose over here. So now I have my retention clamp out of the way. Now you just want to go ahead and remove your hose. Now the other thing I try and do too, I've got it moved a bit, is I'll try and twist that hose a bit and then just pull it off. just like so. And now we're removed from over there. Next, we want to remove the retention clamp from our upper radiator hose here. So I'm just gonna squeeze that together like so. This one's kind of really stuck on there. There we go. And we'll just slide that back, so it's out of the way. Good news is, as we were doing that, looks like our hose came loose, as you see right here. So now we'll just go ahead and slide that off. Just like that, and we'll just set it up here out of the way. Now our radiator is completely disconnected. We just need to work on getting it out. You'll also want to remove this cover here that goes between your radiator and your condenser, and you'll just put your hand on one side and just lift up on it. And basically it just has these little tabs that lock onto your radiator, so it's real easy to remove, and then set that back up out of your way. Now, to show you the next step that you're going to have to do, which is going to be to disconnect your upper radiator attachments from your condenser, I'm going to go ahead and take off our front bumper cover here, so that way you can get a real good view of what it is that you're going to have to do. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this part in just a fast motion for y'all. If you want to know how to remove your front bumper cover, I'm going to put a link up above right here for you that's going to show you my other video as to how to do that. Realistically, it should only take you 10 to 15 minutes to take your front bumper cover off. To me, when I'm doing a job like this, it's well worth the time to do that so that I have easy access to everything. So I'm going to speed through that now for you. Now with our front bumper cover out of the way, I can get you up close so you can see what you're going to be dealing with. Now these here on the side are what you're going to have to push in on these little, let me set my light in. So these you're going to squeeze in, and then you're going to pull your condenser out from this holder here on your radiator. And you have these actually on both sides, and here's the one here on this side. And you're going to do the same thing over on here. Once you do that, then what you'll do is you're going to pull your condenser forward towards you or towards the front of the vehicle, and then lift up on it, because down below, and let's see if we can't get down in there, you'll see there it has the little clips right down right there. See how it's resting on there? So once you undo these up here, there we go. Once you pinch these, pull this out on both sides, then what you'll do is lift up on it so that those bottom pegs that are down in there, that are right there, will come up out of there. And what that will do is that will then move your condenser forward, and then you'll be able to go ahead and separate your condenser from your radiator. And then once you do that, all you got to do is just pull your radiator out. So that's what you're going to have to do on both sides. Now this van is actually missing on this side over here, but on the side you have these little guards. You'll see this little plastic guard right here, and on this side it's not so much of a big of a deal. And I'm sorry it's not here for me to show you. I'm gonna have to go get one and put it in here at some point. But it will go over these lines here, and that's what can cause you some issues. So once you start to get those out, what you're going to want to do is pull that guard, that rubber guard here, off those sides, and that way it doesn't interfere with your AC lines running into your condenser. Then you can easily remove your radiator. So now let me show you how we do this. It's actually pretty quick and it's pretty easy to do. So what I'll do is just take like a pair of pliers here and just gently, you don't need to go crazy. You're just gonna push them together, and see that? You can even use your fingers actually. You don't even need a pair of pliers. And you're just gonna push those tabs together, and just like that, you'll see how that kind of came forward. Now what I'll do is I'm just gonna hold down on the radiator and just lift up on this one side here. move it forward and then come over here. And sometimes they'll fudge a little bit. That one went out real easy. And there we go. So now we have those out. You're ready now to go ahead and just lift your radiator right out of the vehicle. I'm caught on my hose down here, so let me move that real quick. And just like that, we'll just slowly keep lifting. It's going to catch here and there. Don't go yanking things. You just want to take your time, work it out nice and easy. And just like that, you have your radiator out of your van.